Hello, all you lovely computer people, and welcome back to another episode of Lost in the Farmer's Market, where today, these plants are extra special. Now, I know in prior episodes, I've joked about how worthless grass is. And yes, lawn grass is the most worthless thing on the earth that's peddled upon us by an industry that deceives us all the time. But this is not lawn grass you're looking at. In fact, its scientific name is Oryza sativa, commonly called upland rice of the variety, I'm going to mangle this, Hayayuki. It's in the family Poaceae, which is the true grass family. As in, there are things called grass that aren't actually grasses, and then there's Poaceae, which is where all the real grasses are. The for really real. And yes, I said this was rice. This is what rice plants actually look like. A lot of people don't realize that rice comes from grass. It's very bizarre. But anyway, the name Poaceae itself comes from ancient Greek poa, or fodder. Now, I'm not sure, it's poa, and the O has a little tail pointed up on it, so I'm not sure if I'm mangling the pronunciation there. I probably am. But anyway, Oryza is the classic Latin name for rice, and sativa means cultivated. So it is fodder, rice, cultivated rice fodder. Dearest fodder, dearest mud. Okay, anyway, no, I'm not going there. Anyway, it's native to Asia, of course. And in this case, it's specifically to Hokkaido, Japan. So this is a Japanese origin rice that has been cultivated. Now, it's an annual in USDA zones 5 through 8. And since we're in 8B, not bad. Now, that is an estimated number because there are no clear listings for upland rice. It's almost as if clear and concise agricultural research on this stuff just really isn't there yet. And that's pathetic, if you ask me. And I'll explain that in a minute. It's noted that its soil pH preference is 5.6, but there's no range for that. And I can only get 5.6, so I don't know its true pH range. Again, the research isn't there. Or if it is, it's not being posted. It's not being published. Its exposure is full sun, and its height can be 3.5 to 4 feet tall, but that's uncertain again. Some places say it is, some say that it only does that when there's a rice paddy involved, others say that, again, unclear. The width of each individual plant is also unclear, so there are a lot of known knowns and unknown unknowns, and so forth. Now, it's also known as Asian cultivated rice because, of course, of the obvious. Now, again, like I said, there isn't a lot of information. Upland rice is different than your traditional rice that you see portrayed in movies and TV shows. Normally, when you see rice portrayed, it's being cultivated in a rice paddy, which is basically a pool of water, or it's basically for lack of a better way, it's like a terrace garden, except it's filled with water, and they're not terraced, they're semi-terraced, and the whole point of the water is to keep the weeds down. Which is great and all, but it also causes the rice to grow very tall, which is another feature of why these height numbers are kind of skewed. Well, upland rice can grow on dry land as long as it's irrigated, not sitting in a puddle of water, and so upland rice is the dry land equivalent. Now, I should point out this is a cultivated variety, or if in short, cultivar. It is cold tolerant and a short grain brown rice, which is interesting because brown rice typically is rice that hasn't been pearled or had its hull knocked off. They basically polish it to make it white. Sounds like racism. I'm sure it's racism. Anyway, while considered a lowland paddy rice, though, it is adaptable to upland dry growing. So you could grow it in pools of water, but it doesn't. But Hayayuki don't give a crap about that shiznit, which is nice. The rice ripens in 100 to 105 days, and the major risk is a nasty little thing called blast fungus, Magnaportha grisea, which basically is, I believe it's called that because the fungus busts out a section of the leaf to spread its spores. Kind of gross. In theory, that's its biggest problem. I would say, honestly, the lack of information on how to cultivate it, aside from the seed provider, is the actual biggest problem. Now, you can get this seed from a bunch of different cultivators, and fortunately, it's not a surface sow kind of seed, shallow but not surface, and I had about 100% germination on all seeds, which is really good. I didn't have to soak them overnight. I didn't have to fuss out normal grow kit standard undergrow lights. And I have these. And the first of them have actually gone into a large pot for, well, basically allowed them to grow large. And these three are actually going to the farmer's market as an offering to see what people do and if they're willing to buy rice plants locally. You never know a market until you try it, after all. But anyway, as far as I can tell, it responds decently well to fertilizer. It has a light greenish color, as you can see on the camera. And it doesn't seem to have any problems other than me making sure that it never goes dry, like super dry. I can get away with super dry with some plants, but because it's rice, I'm not willing to do that here. So that is Upland Rice, variety Hayayuki. And if you have any thoughts or comments, if you've grown this, I'd love to see them in the comments section. There will be a follow-up later showing how big it gets and more details because, again, this is an experiment. And if you've grown rice at all, I'd love to hear from you. So, as always, folks, keep them growing, and thanks for watching.